Hi everyone, welcome back. Let's talk about chaining. So we introduced it last video, but we'll go more in depth here. Chaining is breaking complex tasks into smaller steps. Chaining teaches each step in the sequence, with the next step becoming a cue for the following step, or the first step becoming a cue for the next step. So chaining's really useful when we want to help learners master multi-step tasks, and a lot of things in life are multi-step tasks. Chaining increases independence and learning in a structured, supportive way with really clear reinforcement. So examples of chain behavior is like brushing teeth, washing hands, getting tests, getting dressed, making toast, completing chores, logging onto a computer are all chain behaviors that can be chained together. So we use it for these multi-step tasks. So whenever you need to teach one, chaining's the best way. It doesn't take as long as it's not like shaping is known as taking a really long time. It can take a lot less time. It helps increase independence. A lot of the skills of just living, taking care of yourself, doing a job, doing your homework or your school, all your school stuff are all multi-step tasks. And so we can build a lot of independence by teaching people this. It's a very structured and supportive way. So it creates a clear, systematic way for people to acquire new skills and maintain success through reinforcement. You keep reinforcing each step of the chain, so people are more likely to feel successful with these long behaviors. It's hard. At the very end, you get their natural reinforcement, but you have to do all these tiny things to get that natural reinforcement that people don't have the motivation. But with a chaining procedure, you can reinforce each step, giving them the motivation. By breaking down complex tasks into smaller, manageable steps and reinforcing each step, chaining can help learners acquire new skills and become more independent. So these are all things that we can chain. So brushing teeth, there's so many small behaviors that go into brushing teeth, which is different than tolerating the brushing. We're just talking about, turning on the water, getting your toothbrush wet, turning it off, putting on the toothpaste, brushing all 4 quadrants of your mouth, front and back. Then spitting out the toothpaste. It goes on and on. Washing hands is a lot of behaviors go into that. Getting dressed, lots of behaviors go into that. Making toast, so inserting the bread, buttering it, taking it to table, all that. All chores pretty much, whether it's vacuuming, doing dishes, cleaning up their room, folding clothes, laundry are all chain examples. And then like a lot of computer things or electronic things can be chain behaviors. So we're going to talk about task analysis next, but this is how we create our behavior chains is we use something called task analysis. We're going to break it down and write it down, and I'll show you more about that when we get to that video, which is next. We have 3 ways to do this. The first way is called forward chaining. We teach the first step, and the rest of the steps are prompted or completed by the technician. So you'd start by prompting everything, and then the next time you'd see, can they do the first step without a prompt? And then you'd prompt steps 2 through 8. And then once we mastered that, the next time we'd see if they could do step 1, 2 without prompts. And then we'd prompt 3 through 8. Backward chaining is different in that we teach the last step. So we prompt everything but the last step, and we see if they can do the last step independent. With both of these, you might start by prompting everything. It depends on how much they know. Successful for forward chaining, you remove the prompting on the first step first, and for backwards chaining, you remove the prompting on the last step first, and then you work your way backwards. And then you have total task presentation. So you teach the entire sequence every time. Prompts are only given when needed. Forward is where you teach the first step in the sequence first. The rest of the steps are prompted or completed by the technician. And this approach is great for learners who benefit from mastering early steps, and it builds momentum from the beginning. For example, building independence in hand washing. The first step of hand washing is turning on water. So that's the first step you'll teach. After they're independently turning on the water, you would guide them through the rest of the steps of hand washing. And then you would continue to add a independent step until everything's independent and they're just, doing it on their own. A technique where the last step is a multi-step task is taught first. So we prompt through all the other steps, and then the technician provides the prompt and assistant for the preceding steps. And this method is beneficial for learners who thrive on immediate success. They get to access the natural reinforcement sooner from an independent step. So, like for laundry, the natural reinforcement of laundry is clean clothes. And if you like taking the clean clothes out of the dryer or the dryer would be your last step. So that's what you teach them to do independently. And what's nice is they'll have a lot of motivation because they get the clean clothes. Maybe not. You never know. Maybe someone doesn't like it, but for the most part, everyone likes having their clean clothes, right? So this builds motivation by providing that natural reinforcement for the independent step first. So putting on socks, like we'll say there's like 4 steps to that, and the technician would help and prompt with steps 1 through 4, and then the learner would pull the socks over the toes. That would be the last step. They get reinforcement for that, both extra and natural. So the natural reinforcement for putting on socks is like your feet are warm and ready for shoes. If you like going outside, you're a little bit closer to that. And so the learner does steps 4 through 5 until fully independent. So total task presentation is you kind of delay you do all the steps and you only give prompts when needed. These are for more advanced learners, I would say. I would utilize this with. If they're able to do some of the steps independently, then you would kind of just prompt when needed. So with total tasks, they're going to attempt all 7 steps and then vary the prompts per step. So it just depends on how much they know and how well they do it. But you might give physical guidance and no prompts for another one, maybe a gesture for another one, and you're taking data on that. You provide reinforcement after the completion of the whole task, and you might focus on some of those independent steps too. And you fade those prompts over time. So this is really important for your exam. You need to know these 3 really well. You need to know examples of these, how to do them. And I also want to say really quickly, like, this is not with any of these. I think people get in their head, like, you start with the last step and backwards. No, you still do everything in order, the proper order. It's just you're fading the prompting on the last step first, teaching that first. Forward is fading, prompting, or teaching from step 1. Backwards is fading, prompting, or teaching from last step. And total task is allowing them to do any part independently. You're just seeing where they are and providing prompts as needed. So the strength of it is it will break the learning into small manageable steps. Total task is like there's lots of feedback and reinforcement throughout. And backwards is you get that natural reinforcement at the end. So for how we're going to reinforce this, we're going to reinforce the correct completion of each targeted step, provide reinforcement for the learners when they complete each step correctly to encourage the desired behavior. And then we're going to use differential reinforcement, higher value reinforcement for more independent response, very similar to shaping. And this will help with the independence and chaining. We're going to reinforce the completion of the entire chain as they become more successful. When you're really consistent and use higher value reinforcement, you'll get that independence and they'll be motivated to do this. So tips for techs. So follow your task analysis exactly. Don't skip steps, add steps, anything like that. If you think that something's wrong, talk to your BCBA or supervisor. Be patient. Make sure we get the step we're on independent before we move. Take data on each trial and step. Carefully document the learner's performance on each step, task, and to track the progress and make informed decisions. And in the task analysis, video, I'm gonna show you how you take the data, and that's the same for shaping as well. You'll have a good idea of the data. Task analysis are how we chain. So you would not do a behavior chain without a task analysis. I've never seen anyone do. We always have a task analysis for it. You're going to collaborate and make sure we're talking about fading, troubleshooting. These are complex. In the beginning, with new, younger individuals or people who are newer to therapy, these might be simpler things, but as we get older, these get more complex. If you start working in job skills with people, the task analysis can be super complex. So you have to really follow and troubleshoot to make sure we are able to do all this. And then also celebrate the small gains. This is hard. We need to celebrate every success. So common mistakes, skipping over a step is something that happens. Reinforcing prompted responses without fading. I also see this a lot. So they were faded and I don't know, maybe the tech didn't know that they were prompting. So you gotta be careful with the prompting. Inconsistently prompting or reinforcing. So inconsistently using prompts or reinforcement, using the wrong type of chaining for the learner. So make sure if you feel like the chaining's not working, talk to your supervisor because you can try something else. Most of the time, what I see is people try total tasks and the learner is not there yet. They just haven't had enough experience with chaining. Once a learner has a lot of experience with task analysis chaining, they kind of get what you're doing or are trying to accomplish. We typically can move to total task, but before they're ready, that's just not a good idea. It often fails. To document progress on each step, that's another thing. Chaining is a really powerful technique that helps everyone tackle these complex skills by breaking them down into small, manageable steps. By teaching each step in a sequence, the learner will build independence and master these really hard behaviors, but they'll really help them become independent and can help them access new environments.